Hello and welcome to our very first Ask a STEM SiSTAR with me, Ami Bakare. And today joining us, we have the wonderful Navo Emmanuel. She is currently a graduate student at Carnegie Mellon University and has an interesting path into getting interested in tech. And I can't wait to hear more about her as well as answer some of her questions that she might have as she's starting on her tech journey. So, first of all, Navo, could you please tell me about your undergraduate major and what was that experience like for you?
Well, first, I want to say thank you so much for starting this amazing initiative. I know that I wish that I could be a young woman during this time, looking up to you and like using this platform as an informative tool for designing my path forward. But it is what it is. I kind of ended up on the tech route, not in a very traditional way. I started off as actually I started studying like biology. I believe I started as like a psychology major or something like that. But my initial goal was to go to med school because being African, you can either be a doctor, lawyer, or engineer, and those are your options. And so I ended up taking some personality tests, and then I discovered the field of policy analysis. And I started off as a sophomore because I had a lot of credits coming out of high school and was just ready to zoom through and was like, oh, well, this sounds like a really interesting path. And so started taking policy classes, realized I loved the field, and then took some economics courses and realized maybe I should also get a minor in this because technical skills are very important to me. And also it was challenging. And, I just wanted to be able to practice math and use my problem solving skills in ways that are creative and also, that help me understand the world better and how life works. And so that's sort of how I ended up studying policy and economics. And then afterwards, my ultimate goal is really to go back to Sierra Leone and help in its development. So I realized, okay, so maybe I need to study city planning so that I can understand how cities develop or how civilizations are able to organize their resources in such a way that opportunities can be spread amongst populations more equitably and also increase standards of living, right? So I ended up going along that route and studied city planning afterwards and also pursued a specialization in statistics because, again, that common denominator of being able to understand how to structure everything around you and have a sound basis that other people can use that's replicable, right? So a theory on how to make life work for others. So I decided to study both of those fields, tried to garner an understanding, realized there's a lot more to do. Every time you learn more, you realize there's so little that you know.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? So then, I completed my program. I couldn't decide what I wanted to do work-wise, and I realized I wanted to have better technical skills in the field of computer science programming. I had taken some programming courses during my undergrad because I realized that's going to be a really important skill to have in the future. But I didn't really see myself becoming a programmer.
Okay.
And then, when I went to my program and was studying city planning, I ended up just gravitating towards data from that statistics, interest, and realized in the stats field, everything's kind of really rigid. But when you apply it to real life scenarios, for me, it brings it to life. So, I realized Carnegie Mellon was another university I was looking into when applying to graduate schools and decided to revisit. I recognized that I would get both the technical skills that I needed, right, programming skills, and also be able to have that people-focused experience that really just drives me. And so now I'm going into this program really enthusiastic, and hopefully I can use these skills to go on to do what I want to do, to go and help Sierra Leone in its development, help it come into the fourth industrial revolution strong and ready to compete.
Okay, yes. That's an awesome path. I love all the different things that you were, attempting and all the different things that you were learning and that passion for always wanting to learn something new. I think that that's amazing, especially if you want to be in the tech world, because obviously technology is always changing every day. And so that interest in wanting to learn more will definitely come in handy as you actually embark on your career later. Cool. So I guess you've already kind of told us about your graduate school, but maybe just give us a little bit more detail. So like, what is your degree going to be in?
Oh, yeah. So this time I'm getting a master's in public policy management, and it's Carnegie Mellon's data analytics track. So it's really, I like to describe it as being at like the intersections of like computer science and public policy. So like I would be the computer scientist of the public policy world, essentially.
Got it. That's a good way to put it, because I was like, what kind of classes?
Yeah.
Yeah, that explains it really, really well. Okay, nice. So as you are, beginning this graduate school journey, and I know that you have had some like work experience, what are some questions that you have for a person who's already in the field, like me?
So I guess one thing I really want to know is what are the attributes or skills that really help people thrive in the tech and data space? I know that I'm sure I'm going to learn them in my classes, but I'm real world experience tends to provide you with more insights. And so I think that sort of insight would help me be able to like form my coursework and how I approach my courses and be more strategic about it.
Okay. So I can only give you like from my own view, like my own lens. And so I'm kind of in like a platform management environment. And so there's a lot of work that goes into standing up a platform, supporting it, and that type of thing. But what I've noticed is invaluable right now is if you have skills in automation. So if you can code with Python, if you can do like Lambda scripts, if you can do that kind of thing and actually automate something, either in AWS or using Python, whatever it may be, that is an amazing skill to have. And it's a skill that I currently do not have. And so I depend heavily on the people in my organization who do have those skills. But I see that if I were like just coming out of school now, or if I was in school now, that is something that I would have like tried to focus a little bit more on. So automation. And then what's another good one? I mean, honestly, just staying up to date. So staying up to date with whatever is new, because there's always going to be a newer, shinier tool or something else that other people in your organization might want to start using. So in my space, we support all the tools for the company. And it's more so like if a group has a tool that they want to use, then and we currently do not support it in the company, then they would bring it to our team, and then our team would have to like flesh it out and actually like learn about it and see if it's something that we can implement on a broader scale. And so being up to date helps when people come to the team to ask us to implement something, because then we would already kind of know about it, versus it being like, I have no idea what this thing is that you're asking me for. So I would say maybe those are the two things that I think are really important right now.
So how do you stay up to date and stay informed on what's cutting edge in the industry?
That's a great question. So there's a lot of training platforms. So LinkedIn has good trainings. My company has Percipio that it offers. There's like all these different paths, these different training courses that you can take. And you would do those like in conjunction with your, regular work and your regular training. But yeah, those are two really good platforms for just like learning more. And then I know that AWS actually has amazing free training that you can do. Like there's a lot of different free courses that you can take with AWS. And then Tableau was actually offering like free 90-day training, but I believe it has expired now. But earlier this year, they offered free 90-day training. And so that was another really good thing that I kind of promoted with my users, is to like brush up on your skills, like try this out. It's free. Why not?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so what are some qualities that you see the people who thrive most tend to possess. So, and even for yourself, like, how did you get started? How did you start to recognize the qualities you needed to grow into so that you could be successful?
Okay. That's a deep question. So I am naturally I'm an extroverted introvert, but not at work. So at work, I'm a very heads down, focused on my job. I came to do my work, and so I want to do my work and leave type of person. But what I quickly learned when I joined a more corporate environment. So before I worked where I work now, I worked for a nonprofit. There was maybe like 25 people in the office. It was very small, very like homey, like everybody was like, we could just walk and talk to each other. And that was it. And so my personality kind of worked better there. But then when I moved into a more corporate setting, I quickly realized that's not working here. That is not working here. You will never get promoted that way. Or if you get promoted that way, it's like by chance, maybe. But the chances of you getting promoted like that, I think they're very slim. And so what I started to do was, and I mean, I had a great, like my first manager, he was amazing. So he honestly sat me down and was just like, here's a list of people, try to talk to these people, try to talk to these people. And he's actually like a Hispanic man, but he actually gave me a list of like a lot of Black women in the company. And he was like,
amazing.
You should talk to them. Yes, he's amazing. And I want to say now I'm telling you, I don't think I've ever like actually messaged him and said like, oh, you didn't have to do that, like for being the person that you are, but you did that for me. And that was amazing. So that honestly he's kind of what helped me to be like, oh, okay, so like sitting here, that's not about to do anything. Like I would need to talk to all these people that he wrote down here. And so then I just started like going through the list, like one by one by one, and like setting up one-on-ones, which is like totally not my personality. Like like it was a thing, but I saw that a lot of the people that kind of excel really quickly, they are always meeting with people. They're always meeting with people. Their work, they're doing well at their work, but they're not like, how do I say this? Their work isn't what is like defining them moving up or not. Mm-hmm. It's those connections, or it's that relationship capital that they are building with people. And that is what is helping them to move along. Mm-hmm. And so once I kind of started to see it, so first I was kind of just doing it like, okay. But once I started seeing it like in other people, like, oh, I get it. Cause I'm working a lot, but like you're kind of working, but then like you're getting promoted. That's when I started to realize like I should meet with people more and like talk more. Mm-hmm. And it was actually it's feedback that I've gotten that I don't talk enough about my achievements, or I don't talk enough about the work that I'm doing or the impact that I'm having. And that has been something that I'm working on. I'm actively working on being more vocal about what I do. So even starting this platform like with my sister, I have had a lot of hesitations because I've been like, do people care about what we do? But then the response that we've received is like overwhelming. People do care. And so I think that's helping me to definitely see like the value in the work.
That's helpful. And so you got into the networking aspect. I've like always been very much, if I work hard, like it'll all be fine, right? Yep. But I'm starting to realize more and more that relationships matter the most out of everything. And so what sorts of tips would you have for people who are extroverted introverts, right? Who are more likely to gravitate towards this field, to be able to like make themselves feel more comfortable reaching out and, you know, encouraging them how to use those as opportunities to learn and grow?
Okay. So what I did was, because I knew if I just get here and just only work, I will only work, and I will never, I will like never talk to anybody. So I forced myself to join a lot of employee resource groups. So I forced myself to join them and then also help do something in them. So, like when I first joined the company, I joined the early career professionals group. And then I saw that there was this amazing event that I'd gone to, and it was called Bridging the Gap, where it's like a candid conversation in a room, no stage, but it's like an open conversation between the people that are the main people and then like the rest of the audience. And so I loved that. And so I got involved, and now I'm like one of the exec members, or one of the co-leads for Bridging the Gap. And that was the thing that I was like, I'm going to make myself do this, and it's a great program, so why not? And so I would challenge anybody that is an extroverted introvert, or anybody that is more prone to just focusing on their work, to push yourself a little bit and join something that you're interested in. So pick something that you like. It'll make it a little bit easier. But then do that, because then that's an easy way to network with people. And then and you're networking, and it's not necessarily about your job, but you maybe work with those people. So I think that greatly helped me a lot.
Okay. And so I'm kind of curious to hear, what about networking do you think helps you in your data analytics work? Like, I'm sure there has to be more than just like building those relationships and, showing that you have what it takes. But like, I imagine that maybe there's some tidbits that you're given when you're having discussions with these individuals. So what sorts of like questions would you formulate to get those tidbits and insights that you thought were most important?
So I think it depends on the context, like of what maybe I'm working on at the time. But I think when I talk to other people, maybe other people who are also like technical people, maybe you ask them like, how are you doing your work? Like, how have you done your workbook, or how did you do that? And then maybe like that helps, because then you learn something new. Maybe you show them how you've done something, and it's just a great sharing of ideas, which I guess that's technically networking. And so that's one way that I think that networking helps with your work. But then describe what you were saying one more time, like ask it again.
More so like, how do you prepare for those one-on-ones? Like, how do you know what questions you need to ask to get information that would be helpful for your work, I suppose. So like, what does that process look like when you're preparing for those one-on-ones?
Okay, now I get it. I'm a naturally nosy person. So so they make us take this insights, like a personality test, and my top color is blue. And blue is a person who's very analytics driven, data driven, all that. So that's my top color. My next color is red, which is a person who's like a driver. So I am naturally just the kind of person that has a million questions to ask somebody. And so when I'm preparing for a one-on-one, I more so just ask them all the things that I think they would have wanted to know if they were like my age. Like if they were my age, or if they were like, at my level in the company, like what are the questions that you probably wanted to know also? Those are the questions that I just ask people. Like, could you please tell me, do I really need to network to get ahead? That's a question I've asked before. How important is network? I mean, that's a question I've asked, because I mean, you have to think about it like that person has a lot of knowledge to share with you, but they didn't have that probably before. Those are things that they've learned along the way. So when I'm meeting with people, I just tailor it as, what would you have told your younger self in this situation?
Okay, so then that brings me to my last question, which is, how would you say a mentorship has helped you throughout your education and your career?
Okay, so for my education, I'm a younger sister, so I'm actually the youngest of 5 siblings. And so prior to my professional life now, I only had siblings and parents as as mentors, I think. Um, and so I will say that the guidance like from my mom or my dad and like my sister, like obviously like also brothers as well, that guidance has been amazing. Like I don't know where I would be without having learned from their mistakes or just talking to them about like life experiences, and definitely with navigating graduate school my sister helped me out a lot because as I've said, I'm not a networker, and she would be like, did you make business cards? Have you made business cards? Let's update your resume, let's fix it. And I would be like, okay. So like I mean, that was amazing. And I appreciate everything that she did for me in that way. Now in the workspace, I would also say that having a mentor, how it has affected me is that it has made me feel like talking to other people about their careers, how they balance being a mom and also having a career and also trying to like get promoted or that kind of thing, has actually made me feel like less of a, how do I say, less of a mess.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
I can be totally honest because I, being a young, being a young mom in a working environment where you're also trying to like, I'm here to like build my career. It's hard. And I don't let anybody tell you that it's easy, that it's easy. It's hard, but having other women to talk to and they share like, okay, this is what I did. Like, oh, I started to like, I hired a cleaning lady. Like I have this, like I did this. That information has made me feel like, oh, okay, so like other people also were struggling.
Yeah.
And it almost normalized it for me so that I would stop being so hard on myself. And so that has been, I'm very grateful for people just speaking their truth to me so that I could learn from their experiences and help my life.
That's very powerful.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing about yourself and then asking me a couple questions. This was amazing. And those of you watching, feel free to leave your questions below. Like if you have any, feel free to leave them for me and I'll answer them. And as always, please like, subscribe, all that, thumbs up, please. Bell if you want to be notified, all that. And we will holler at you next week.
Oh, thank you again for having me. This was a fun chat.
Oh yeah, no problem. All right. And then follow Navo. I'll put her information down below. Like follow her on all her social media platforms as well. Cool.